Feluda. Okay, I'll repeat it. Feluda or Pradosh Chandra Mitra is an amateur sleuth who makes his first appearance in this story. First appearance means he's the first character in the story. Amateur sleuth means who does the work of a detective because he finds it very interesting, not because that he is doing to gain money. Only because of his interest he does the work. Now, Topshe, another character in the story, he's Feluda's cousin and the narrator of the story. He's the one who will narrate the whole story to you. He accompanies Feluda through all his adventures, through all the adventures, through all thick and thin. He is with him and he's his cousin and friend. Feluda and Topshe are on a holiday in Darjeeling when this incident occurs. So this incident which we are going to read in the chapter, it occurs when both of them are on a holiday in Darjeeling. Both Feluda, okay, and Topshe, his cousin, they are on a holiday in Darjeeling and this incident occurs over there. Now, first paragraph, I had accidentally overheard. I had accidentally. Who is narrating the story to us? Topshe. So this story, this incident is narrated by Topshe. So that is why I means Topshe saying this. I had accidentally overheard a disturbing conversation between Rajen Babu and a friend of his when I was sitting in the mall and had reported to Feluda that there seemed to be something to investigate. So now this person, Topshe, who is Feluda's cousin, he's saying that I was sitting on the mall over there and suddenly I heard, not that he wanted to hear, but he just overheard. At times what happens to people, they speak loudly and then automatically you hear, not intentionally, but automatically you hear what they are saying. So he says, I heard a conversation between Rajen Babu and one friend of his and I found it quite interesting. And then he reported to his cousin, Feluda, that it seems to be an interesting conversation and something is spicy in it. There is something to investigate. Why he told him to investigate? Because as we read in the beginning of the chapter, I told you that he is a detective who likes to do his work because he loves to do it. Okay. So he just told him that I think there is something to investigate. He told him. Now Rajen Babu, an amiable old man. Amiable means friendly and good natured. Rajen Babu is an amiable old man who was living a peaceful retired life in Darjeeling. Recently, he had taken in a paying guest, Tinkori Babu. He was leading, now Rajen Babu, he was leading a very nice life in Darjeeling, retired life. He's a friendly man, he's good natured. And suddenly he takes in a paying guest. Paying guest, at times you have paying guests, isn't it? You give your room on rent and you take money from them. And at times you also provide them with food and all. So he has taken in a paying guest and his name is Tinkori Babu on the recommendation of a dear friend. Recommendation means that some friend said that you can take him, he is a good person. And if someone says that, someone gives the guarantee, then you believe that person. So some good friend gave him this recommendation that you can take him Tinkori Babu, he's a good man. So Rajen Babu has taken him as a paying guest in his house. Tinkori Babu had a special weakness for cherut. Cherut is a kind of cigarette, okay, big cigar. So he says he has a special weakness, means he likes to smoke. Tinkori Babu had a special weakness for cherut, and before moving into Rajen Babu's house, he had made sure that Rajen Babu had no objection to it. Okay, so he was very clear. Tinkori Babu, he was very clear, he was very frank, and before he moved into Rajen Babu's house, he told him that I have a special weakness for this. Special weakness means I like to smoke. So he did not hide anything from him, and he told him that I like to smoke, and if you find it all right, then you can give me a house on rent. So we agreed with it. He had not hidden his weakness. He was frank about it. He had already told Rajen Babu about it. But Rajen Babu agreed to it and gave him the house. Because you've seen people at times, if they are vegetarians, they don't want to give the house to non-vegetarians. Okay. So in the same way, this person who smoked, he already told his weakness to his landlord, that is Rajen Babu, I like to smoke, and he agreed to it and gave him the house. All right. Have you understood till here the two paragraphs? Boys, Viren, Weber, yes, Jiten, you've understood? Okay. Now just write down the meaning of investigate in the first paragraph. The last word, investigate. Investigate, investigate. Investigate means carry out a systematic carry out a systematic, Systematic. Hargun is there in the class? Yes, he's there. Okay. He also wanted me to explain. He only reminded me, so that's very good. Carry out a systematic inquiry. Investigate means carry out a systematic, Systematic. Carry out a systematic inquiry, Enquiry. Enquiry. Carry out a systematic inquiry. Systematic, Systematic. Carry out a systematic inquiry, Enquiry. 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 Carry out a systematic inquiry so as to establish, so as to establish, Establish, so as to establish, so as to establish the truth of something, the truth of something, the truth of something. Now, meaning of investigate, I'll repeat it. Carry out a systematic inquiry, systematic, Systematic. Systematic. Carry out a systematic inquiry, Enquiry. Carry out a systematic inquiry so as to establish, so as to establish, Establish, establish the truth of something, the truth of something, the truth of something. Have you all written and understood, Viren, Vaibhav, Malay? Yes. Okay. Then second paragraph, we had objection. See in the last line, objection. Rajen Babu had no objection to it. Write the meaning of objection also. Objection. Objection means an expression of, an expression, Expre, En, Ex, En, expression Expre, Objection is an expression Expre, Expresion. Expresion. An expression of disapproval. Disapproval. Disappproval. An expression of disapproval. Objection is an expression, Expresion, an expression of disapproval, Disapproval, an expression of disapproval. You disapprove of something, that is called objection. Okay, now we come on to the third paragraph. A few days ago, Rajen Babu had received a threatening letter by post. Now, in the third paragraph, we are reading that few days ago, Rajen Babu got a letter which was threatening him. And that letter was, you get letters by post. By post, now these days, you can give messages on the phone and all. But now, we are talking about time when people used to write letters. So he received a letter by post that it was a very threatening letter. What is the meaning of threatening right now? Threate. In the first line, the second last word, threatening. Threatening. Threatening means a likely cause, a likely, Likely, a likely cause of damage, of damage, Damage, damage or danger. A likely cause of damage or danger. A likely cause of damage, damage or danger, Danger. A likely cause of damage or danger, a likely cause of damage or danger. Okay. So he received a threatening letter. Threatening means in this letter there was something that in the future something is going to harm him or damage him. So a likely cause of damage or danger. It had words not written but cut out from newspapers and books. Now in this letter, see, nothing was written in words. See, if a person is threatening you and he writes in his own handwriting, his handwriting can be caught, isn't it? You can always. So it was not written, but there were words taken out from newspapers and stuff. It had words not written, but cut out from newspapers and books. Be prepared to pay for your sins, is all that it said. Imagine the letter said, be prepared to pay for all your sins. Now, this can be very, very, of course, it is a threatening letter and it can really disturb anyone because it wasn't written also, there was no handwriting in it, but there were words and letters which were cut from newspapers and books. And what did it say? That be ready to pay for your sins. The letter said to Tinkori Babu that be ready, to Rajen Babu, sorry. The letter said to Rajen Babu, be ready to pay for your sins. Now, when we visited Rajen Babu to inquire about it, Feluda asked, have you a reason to suspect anyone? Now, when we, who are we? Topshe and Feluda, okay. Topshe and Feluda, when they visited Rajen Babu. So, when we visited Rajen Babu to inquire about it, Topche is telling the story. So he's saying we means he's saying about himself and Feluda. So he says, and Feluda asked Rajen Babu, have you a reason to suspect anyone? So he says, have you got any reason to suspect anyone? What is suspect? Doubt. Doubt. Write down doubt. Doubt. When you doubt someone. doubt. So he says, have you got a reason to suspect anyone? Suspect, doubt. Absolutely not. I don't remember harming anyone anytime. So Rajen Babu says, I don't suspect anyone because as I remember, I've got no enemies and I have not harmed anyone in the past. Okay, or in the present, I have no enemies. So I don't even remember and I can't suspect anyone. Then Feluda asked him because he's a detective and he's finding it very interesting. So he says, does anyone visit you regularly? Well, I don't get too many visitors. Dr. Phony Mitra comes occasionally, only when I'm ill. So Rajen Babu says, I don't get any visitors. He's an old man. He's leading a retired life, happy in himself. So he says, I don't get many visitors, but yes, at times, Dr. Phony Mitra visits me. And he's my family doctor. He comes whenever I'm ill. After some investigation, Feluda said to him, to Topshe, Dr. Phony Mitra could be the one who sent the letter. He seems to be in need of money as he doesn't have a good practice. A letter like this would make Rajen Babu afraid and make him ill, and if that happened, he would actually go to his doctor. So now they are just taking out this result from all this conversation that it can be the doctor who has written the letter to Rajen Babu. Why? Because when he writes this letter, naturally he will get anxious, he will fall ill, maybe his blood pressure increases, then what will happen? Whom will he require? The doctor. The family doctor will come, and the family doctor, when he comes to see Rajen Babu, after seeing him, he'll get the fees for his visit. So he'll get the money, and he seems to be in need of money. So he says maybe it is him who has written the letter because his practice also doesn't seem to run very well. So he was the suspect. The second person who visited Rajen Babu often was Mr. Ghoshal, an expert in antiques. He was an expert in antiques. These are very old. What are antiques? Old and very valuable things. Okay, they are kept in museums and other places where people go and look for them, and at times they are sold also. So, second person who visited Rajen Babu was Mr. Ghoshal, and he was an expert in antiques. Of late, Rajen Babu had developed an interest in antiques and curios, and collected many masks, daggers, and old paintings. So of late, he had also developed this interest, Rajen Babu, in curios and antiques. What are curios? These are also very rare. Rare means things which are not found very often, very unusual things. And these are small in size and people collect them, okay, because they find them very interesting. They are also old things. So he had developed interest in curios and antiques, Rajen Babu, and he used to collect them and keep. Now write down the meaning of masks and collected many masks and daggers and old paintings. Masks is a covering for all, a covering, covering, a covering for all, or part of the face, or part of the face. Mask is a covering for all. Now, see the name of the chapter is also mask. A covering for all, a covering for all, or part of the face, or part of the face, comma, born for protection, born for protection, born for WORN, born for protection, PROTECTION, born for protection, 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 comma. Now, mask, why is it worn? So, these are reasons given. Many, it is worn for protection, then as a disguise, DISGUISE, as a disguise. I repeated mask, a covering for all, a covering for all or part of the face, or part of the face, comma, worn for protection, worn for protection, PROTECTION, worn for protection, or as a disguise, DISGUISE, or as a disguise. So that is the meaning of mask. Now dagger, you write down. Dagger. Dagger is a short pointed knife. Dagger, DAGGER. Dagger is a short pointed knife, KNIFE. A short pointed knife. Can you hear me clearly? Boys, Priyanshu, Jiten, Viren, Satvik. Yes? Okay. Dagger, a short pointed knife, a short pointed knife used as a weapon. Used as a weapon. A short pointed knife used as a weapon. A short pointed knife used as a weapon. Okay. Now, Tinkori Babu thought Ghushal was a crook. Tinkori Babu thought that Ghushal was a crook. Crook means a person who is dishonest and he cheats others. So, according to Tinkori Babu, Ghushal was a crook. He was a dishonest person and he was trying to cheat this old man, Rajen Babu. He pretends to be interested in art and antiques, but I think what he really wants is to buy them cheap here and sell them to foreigners at a much higher rate. So he thinks, according to Tinkori Babu, that he is a crook, Mr. Ghoshal is a crook, and he's buying all these antiques and curios from Rajen Babu at a low price, and then he sells it to the foreigners at a higher price. So he says he's a crook, he's buying all this at a very low price from Rajen Babu, and he shows his interest in it, and then he says that these are very interesting, and he buys them, and then he sells them at a higher rate to the foreigners. Tinkori Babu had told Feluda when we had met him in the coffee shop the next day. Tinkori Babu had told Feluda, okay, he had told Feluda, Tinkori Babu told this to Feluda when we had met him in the coffee shop the next day. Okay. So Tinkori Babu, he was telling this to Feluda. Who is Tinkori Babu? The paying guest. Tinkori Babu is the paying guest and Rajen Babu is the owner of the house. Okay, so Tinkori Babu, he had told this to Feluda, Feluda who was the detective, that he sees this thing in Gushal's interest when he comes to the house, that he thinks that he's interested in all this. He shows an interest, but he's making a fool of Rajen Babu. Tinkori Babu is saying this. The paying guest, Tinkori Babu, is saying this, and he makes a fool of Rajen Babu. He buys them at a low price and sells them at a high rate to the foreigners. So this he told to Feluda when he met him in a coffee shop one day. Then he might have a motive in sending the letter to Rajen Babu, said Feluda. So Feluda says that he also might be having a motive, means an aim. He must be having a purpose in sending this letter to Rajen Babu. I learned during my visit to the curio shop today that the shop is going to get some fresh supplies this evening. So Feluda says that maybe then he has some motive, he has some purpose. Ghoshal has some purpose in sending the letter to Rajen Babu, and he says, I just went to the shop and I found out that he's going to get some fresh stock today. So first suspect, whom did they suspect first? The doctor. And then after that, the second person they are suspecting is Mr. Ghoshal. So now they have two people whom they are doubting. First is the doctor. They are thinking the doctor is trying to fool Rajen Babu because his practice doesn't do well and he wants to get money. Yes, in the form of fees. And the second person is Mr. Ghoshal, who has a curio shop and he visits him often. Yes, and he shows his interest in the antiques and curios which Rajen Babu has. I see, exclaimed Tinkori Babu. A letter like that would naturally frighten Rajen Babu, staying at home for a few days, and Ghoshal would go to buy all the new pieces. So he says that there's a curio shop over there. So now the Feluda is saying that I just came to know that this curio shop is going to get some fresh supplies. So he says, the paying guest says that yes, now I see a motive in this, that maybe this letter which Ghoshal has written is there to frighten Rajen Babu, because when he gets this letter, he will be frightened. Naturally, he won't be interested in curios and antiques. He's just thinking about the letter. He's an old man. So what will happen? And he's staying alone. So he will keep thinking about it, and he will not go to the shop at this time and see these pieces which have come fresh. And who will be benefited from it? Ghoshal. He will go to the shop, and before Rajen Babu goes, he will go and buy them at a low price and then sell them to the foreigners at a high rate. Okay. So who is at the beginning end? Mr. Ghoshal. So doctor and Ghoshal are now two suspects. Exactly. Now, so this fellow is saying exactly. We then came to know about Rajen Babu's son Prabir Majumdar, who was away. Then now there's a third person in the story. Who is him? Who is he? He's Prabir Majumdar. So we then came to know, who are we? Feluda and Popshi, they came to know that Rajen Babu had a son and has a son, not had a son, has a son, and his name is Prabir Majumdar, and who was away. Rajen Babu, it seems, had asked Prabir to leave the house when he was caught stealing money from his father's cupboard. Father and son had not been in contact since. This boy must be a spoiled brat, and he was stealing money from his own father's cupboard, and Rajen Babu had seen him. So Rajen Babu had told him to leave the house, and since then, father and son had not been in contact. They had not been in touch with each other, and Prabir had left Darjeeling. But now it seems that Prabir had also come back to Darjeeling, and he was also in the sea. Tinkori Babu was shocked to hear that Prabir was back in Darjeeling. The paying guest, Tinkori Babu, now is getting a shock to hear that Prabir has come back to Darjeeling. And the story says that Prabir and his son, and his father Rajen Babu, they had not been in touch for a very long time because he had left the house. His father had told him to leave the house. As one day, Rajen Babu had seen his son Prabir stealing from his cupboard, so as punishment, he was told to leave the house. Rajen Babu doesn't know that his son is in town, said Tinkori Babu, and I don't think he should be told. After all, he's already had one shot. So now Tinkori Babu says that Rajen Babu doesn't know that his son is back in town in Darjeeling, and we should not tell him because already he has had one shock. Which is one shock? The threatening letter. Okay, the one shock is the threatening letter. So already he has got one shock, and if we tell him, naturally he will again fall very ill. So we should not tell him. Nalin, you can hear me? Yes, Nalin Tiwari, you can hear me? Yes. Have you understood the story till here, children? Have you understood the chapter? Yes. So now The third suspect in the story is Prabir. So they say that Prabir is back in Darjeeling, but according to Tinkori Babu, the paying guest Rajen Babu should not be told about it, because what will happen then again, he'll become anxious and he will fall ill. So Prabir has a motive to threaten his father, interrupted Kaluga. He has a motive. Why? Because the father and son, they are not in good terms. So even Prabir can threaten his father. So he was the third suspect now. So Prabir has a motive to threaten his father, interrupted Kaluga. Okay, so he says that he has a motive. He also has a purpose to threaten his father. So the case had reached the stage where it had three suspects, but no culprit yet. So now the story has also reached to this point that in the story we have three suspects. Suspects are the people we are doubting, but there is no culprit. Culprit means the person who has actually done the crime. Just write down the meaning of culprit. Write down culprit, C-U-L-P-R-I-T, culprit. Paragraph 18, last line, the second last word, culprit means the person responsible for an offense. The person responsible, RESPONSIBLE. The person responsible for an offense. The person responsible for an offense. Okay, the person responsible for an offense. OFFENCE, and suspect, write down suspect also, SUSPEC, suspect, believe that someone is guilty, believe that someone is guilty, believe, BELIEVE, believe that someone is guilty, believe that someone is guilty, GUILTY, believe that someone is guilty of a crime, of a crime, of a crime or offense, OFFENCE, or offense, believe that someone is guilty of a crime or offense without definite proof, without, WITHOUT, without definite, DEFINITE, without definite, DEFINITE, without definite proof, without definite proof. So you just suspect a person, but you have no proof with you. Okay, without definite proof. Children, have you all understood till here? Nalin, have you understood? Okay. Now I will be asking you some questions to see that you've understood. Okay, and the remaining story we will continue in the next class. Yes. So be prepared to answer.